This channel is about fixing your impact. But before I start, I want to make sure that you're open to some new ideas. Let me tell you a quick story to explain what I mean. Once a German philosophy professor traveled all the way to Japan to meet a Zen master. He searched for answers to some big spiritual questions. But quickly it became apparent that the professor's mind was already made up. He was so convinced of his own knowledge that he kept interrupting the master, sharing his own stories, barely paying attention. The master listened patiently, then said, "You've come a long way. You must be tired. Let me make you a cup of tea." Now the professor wasn't thrilled. He didn't travel all the way for tea, and he searched for enlightenment. He started to wonder if the master might be a fraud. But out of politeness he stayed. When the master returned with the tea, he poured the professor a cup. The professor watched as the tea filled the cup, reached the rim, and then started spilling over onto the table, the floor, and even his jacket. Finally, the professor burst out, "Stop! Can't you see the cup is full?" The master smiled and said, "Exactly. And your mind is just like that cup, so full of ideas and beliefs that there's no room for anything new. Come back when you've emptied your cup." Now, I'm not a Zen master. I'm just an ordinary golf pro from Düsseldorf, and I promise I won't spill tea on your golf shirt. But I do wish that my students would show up with an open mind. Instead, their cups are often just as full as the professor's. So I try to add just a few drops of fresh tea. Now, ask yourself, how full is your cup? To find out, I would like to take you through some common didactical myths in this video. The next video is about some technical myths. The first and most common one is, I'm aware of my mistakes, I just can't fix them. Back when I was an assistant pro, I sometimes had to work as a starter for tournaments. This gave me a front row seat to watch nearly 100 golfers hit their first tee shot. 90 out of 100 didn't come off as planned. And yet 85 of those golfers instantly knew what caused their mishit, and they weren't shy about sharing it with everybody around. But here's the thing. Their analysis was almost always wrong. For example, how can lifting your head or chicken wings explain hitting the ground behind the ball? Or how could not turning your hips cause a slice? And let's not forget the all-time favorite excuse, swinging too fast. If you really swung too fast, your ball should have gone farther. Even today, when I ask mid to high handicap golfers at the start of a lesson to explain their bad shots, I rarely hear a correct diagnosis. This isn't surprising, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Analyzing a golf swing is incredibly complex. It took me over 20 years of full-time study and practice to confidently explain 95% of all mishits. So here's my advice. Start by admitting that you don't really know what's causing your bad shots. I know it's hard. It's much easier to say, I know the problem, but I just can't fix it. But this kind of honesty is crucial. Golf doesn't just test your motor skills. It also challenges your intellect and your character. The next common myth is the statement, I just lack consistency. Every golfer hits a great shot now and then. Naturally, they think their swing just needs to be a little more consistent. Many also think their swing is different every time just because their ball flights vary. They assume the inconsistent movements are due to their technique not being simple enough. That's why they try to make their swing look more like the textbook perfect swings on tour. So they spend each practice session trying to make their swing more orthodox. Better weight shift, better balance, swinging through correctly, not overswinging, maintaining their posture, and so on. This is like trying to fix a car that won't start by polishing it meticulously. However, except for beginners, golfers swing surprisingly consistent. When I watch 5 to 10 shots at the start of each lesson, I see the same flawed pattern repeated, and I cannot detect any differences between the swings. So most swings aren't inconsistent. They are consistently flawed. Because this tendency is so common, I want to illustrate it with another metaphor. A golfer focusing on these pseudo-consistency factors is like a driver who constantly veers off the road. He keeps crashing into guardrails or ditches. Why? Because when the car drifts off center, he fails to steer correctly. Instead, he might activate the wipers, adjust the climate controls, or turn on the radio, all while heading for a crash. Why does he do this? Because he has studied successful drivers and they are all doing these things, not realizing those are unrelated to keeping the car on the road. Consistency doesn't come from blindly following swing instructions which make your swing look better. Instead, you need to learn how to respond correctly to your mishits. This is the reason why this channel is called Fix Your Impact. But why are there still so many golf books and YouTube videos just showing the right way to swing? They claim the secret lies in using this one body part in this specific way, at this precise moment. Here you can insert things like hip rotation, wrist roll, weight transfer, or what have you. So instead of chasing consistency, focus on fixing the underlying flaw. Because until you do, your alleged inconsistency will keep showing up all the same. The third myth is my golfing problems are mainly mental. If you think your golfing problems are mainly mental, you're implying you lack focus, overthink, or are just too much of a perfectionist. Again, you assume or claim you can execute good shots and you just need to get rid of specific sources of irritation. Nevertheless, I was able to show practically all golfers who came to me with this self-diagnosis that they were by no means free from severe technical deficits. In all those cases, a swing correction is more promising and more pleasant than psychotherapy. My students do not have to give up their thinking, their ambitions, or their perfectionism in order to improve their ball striking. Apart from that, it will always help to overcome the delusion that a lower handicap will result in a deeper connection with your fellow golfers. Unfortunately, this realization will not fix your slice either. It will only make you endure it with more equanimity. Myth number 4. I have a good practice swing, but everything changes with the ball. Practice swings usually feel better than regular golf swings with a ball because they do not provide feedback about the impact factors. The club face can be wide open, and your club head can return to a point a lot closer or further away from you without you noticing. Why is that a problem? Because any preoccupation with the question of how to get your supposedly perfect rehearsal swing to the ball is a waste of time. The sooner you free yourself from that illusion, the faster you will be able to hit clean shots. If you have doubts, I recommend this exercise. Place a ball 1/4 of an inch in front of the club head and another one 1/4 of an inch behind it. Now try to take a divot in the correct place. You will be amazed how often you will hit one of the two balls and how rarely a divot appears at the right place. That means that your practice swings often produce heel and toe hits or thin, topped, and fat shots. If I suspect a student of mine thinking he simply has to repeat his practice swings when hitting a ball, I do the following. I film his practice swing, and in 9 out of 10 cases, I can show him that the club face was wide open at impact. Most golfers release their club too late in their practice swings so that their hands are 15 to 20 degrees in front of the ball at impact. When they hit a ball, they sense that this would not work, so they swing differently. That's all for today. I hope your cup is a little less full now, and in the next video I talk about the most common technical myths. If you enjoyed this video and want more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Not only does this support me, but it also helps the YouTube algorithm understand your preferences, so you will get even better tailored video suggestions in the future. See you next time. Cheers.